Hello students, and welcome to the online video series of module 5. And here in this video we are going to discuss the types of wires and cables, and another topic here will be need of earthing. Here we will also going to discuss the type of earthings. So let's start this video students. First of all, let's see the types of wires and cables. First of all, students, we should know that is there any difference between wires and cables. Many times we are confused that the both of the terms are similar, but there is a difference between these two, and the difference is that wire is a single conductor strand or a group of conductor strands. Wire is a single conductor strand or a group of conductor strands, while cable is two or more insulated wires, wrapped in one jacket. Clear? Two or more insulated wires wrapped in one jacket, while the wire is simply a single conductor strand or group of conductor strands. Further students, multiple conductors that do not have insulation around will also be classified as a single conductor. Okay, if we are having more than one strand, suppose, and if all the strands are bounded or connected together and they all have no insulation around it, then it would also be considered as a single conductor. So there is basic difference between wire and cables. Let's start with the wires first. Students, wires can be broadly classified as single strand, multi-strand, and further ACSR and triple AC. So we will discuss in detail about ACSR and triple AC also here. And first of all, let's see what is single strand and multi-strand wires. Here in this picture we can see that here only one strand or one conductor is there, and there is a jacket over it. This jacket is of thermoplastic high resistance nylon. So if there is only one strand or only one conductor that is wrapped with a nylon coating, so this type of wire can be termed as single strand wires. Students, these type of wires are very useful where we have to lay a wiring, or we have to make a layout with the use of a pipe. So many number of single strand wires can be housed in a single pipe for making a layout for any purpose like wiring. Okay, let's see what is multi-strand wires. In multi-strand wiring, more than one strands will be there. As we can see, there are many strands. Okay, and these strands are housed or are coated with a coating of simply, as we have seen, that a nylon coating or thermoplastic high resistance nylon coating. So in multi-strand wires, the basic or first difference is what? The number of strands. And if we see, then multi-strand wires would be more flexible, okay, and these will be less susceptible for cracking and metal fatigue than single-stranded conductors. So multi-stranded conductors would be preferred on those particular operations where the wiring, during wiring, we will need to bend this wire without experiencing any metal cracking or fatigue. Further, the second advantage of multi-strand wire is that the effective cross-sectional area of the multi-stranded conductors is increased, so this decreases the amount of opposition offered to the current or signal flowing through it. Okay, so in multi-stranded in multi-stranded wires, there are basically more advantages than a single strand wire. Let's see, students, the third type of wire, which is ACSR. As I have told you earlier that we will discuss this in detail, that full form of ACSR first of all is aluminium conductor steel reinforced. Clear? Aluminium conductor steel reinforced. So what is aluminium conductor steel reinforced? Let's see in this diagram. We can see that the outer layer is made up of aluminium conductor, and this is pure aluminium conductor, okay, which will provide high conductivity, okay, low weight at a low cost. High conductivity at a low weight and low cost. The center strands here, it's very interesting. The center strand is steel, is made up of what? Steel strands, which is basically here to support the weight of the conductor. So the use of this steel strands, or we can say steel reinforcing, is nothing but to provide mechanical support to this wire. As we know that steel is having more mechanical strength than the aluminium, so this steel reinforcing provides a better mechanical strength for this conductor. These conductors or ACSR conductors are mostly used in overhead power lines. We all have seen that these type of conductors are being used in the overhead power lines because of their good conductivity, low weight and low cost advantages. Okay, so these are ACSR, aluminum conductor steel reinforced conductors. Again, if we summarize these type of conductors, then these will be high capacity, high strength stranded conductors typically used in overhead power lines. And about construction, there are two layers. The outer layer is made up of pure aluminium conductors, and the centered strands are made up of steel. These are used basically for providing the mechanical strength to the wire. Let's see the next type, that is triple AC, AAAC. The full form is all aluminium alloy conductor. Okay, all aluminium alloy conductor. What is different in this type of conductor than ACSR? The difference is that here is no steel reinforcing in this type of conductor. There is no steel reinforcing. The strands are made up of high strength aluminium magnesium silicon alloy. High strength aluminium magnesium silicon alloy. These strands provides better strength to weight ratio. This point is very important. These provides better strength to weight ratio as compared to ACSR conductor. So what is strength to weight ratio, students? So if we are taking the same amount of weight of triple AC and ACSR conductor for a particular cross section, the strength would be much better in this case than ACSR. Also, the second advantage is that the electrical properties are better in case of triple AC, all aluminum alloy conductors, as compared to ACSR conductors. So these was all about the wires and type of wires, students. Now let's discuss about the cables. As we know that cables are simply the combinations of wires, insulated wires, placed in a common or single jacket. Students, according to the type of insulation, cables are classified in the following categories. The first one is VIR, that is vulcanized Indian rubber insulated cable. Then second one is the tough rubber sheathed cable, or simply TRS cable. Okay. Third one will be lead sheathed cables. Next we will discuss PVC, polyvinyl chloride cables. The next type will be XLPE, cross link polyethylene cables, and then we will discuss weatherproof and multi-strand cables. Okay, so let's start with the vulcanized Indian rubber insulated cables. Students, first of all, what is vulcanization? Okay, so vulcanization is a process of making a chemical reaction of rubber with the presence of sulfur in low oxygen. So what happens after vulcanization? After vulcanization, the rubber gets tougher, or the toughness of the rubber is increased. So students, VIR does means it means that the rubber is having a reaction with the sulfur, and it is having better mechanical property than rubber. That is VIR, vulcanized Indian rubber. Okay. If we talk about the cables, here we can see that the conductors are here, and these conductors are having a coating of tin over it. Okay, these conductors are having a coating of tin over it. So what is the use of tin coating here? The use of tin coating is that it first of all prevents the cable to be sticked or from sticking with the insulation. The first purpose is this, and the another purpose of tinning the cable conductors is that it prevents the chemical reactions between insulation and the conductor, which may cause corrosion or many other chemical effects. Further, students, here we are seeing that the insulation of VIR, vulcanized Indian rubber, is over the conductors, and all these conductors are then braided with the help of cotton tape into a single piece. The use of cotton tape is nothing but to provide a mechanical support for this cable, or to provide this cable mean to prevent it from mechanical injury. Well, students, above this layer we have a coating of moisture resistance compound bitumen wax. This coating or this layer is basically providing a mean so that the moisture does not enter into the cable section. Also, it provides a weatherproof type of coating to the cable. So this is VIR, vulcanized Indian rubber cable. This is very suitable for low and medium voltages. Okay, and this is having lots of application in household operations as well. The next type is tough rubber sheathed cables. Students, the difference between tough rubber and VIR cable is that there in VIR cable the sheathing was of bitumen bags, but in this type of cable the sheath is of tough rubber rather than bitumen bags. So what is the basic constructional detail in the tough rubber sheathed cable is that here is again a conductor, possibly a tinned or having a coating of tin, and over it there is an insulation of again VIR, vulcanized Indian rubber, and over this insulation we are providing a sheath of tough rubber, and which will provide a better protection against wear and tear and other weather changes, okay, such as sun, heat, rain, etc. So the difference between VIR and tough rubber sheathed cable is that in the first case the sheath was of bitumen wax, and in the later the sheath is of tough rubber rather than bitumen wax. Students, these type of cables are available in medium, low end, such as 250 oblique 440 volt and 650 oblique 1100 volt grades applications. So these are also considered as to be low and medium type of voltages application. The next is lead sheathed cables. Students, lead sheathed cables, as the name suggests, that the sheath will be of lead instead of tough rubber in the previous case. So what is here? Here we are having conductors having a tin coating. After that we are having a VIR insulation over the conductors, and above this insulation we are having a sheath of lead in this case. Okay, students, lead is a very good material that gives better protection against moisture, and it also provides sufficient protection against mechanical injury. Further, students, we know that the lead is a type of conductor of electricity. So to prevent any current flow in this layer or in this sheath, we usually ground this sheath layer while installing this type of cables. Okay, so if there is any current due to any reason in this outer sheath layer, that is grounded. Okay, so this type of protection is necessary while using lead sheathed cables. Here, after that, let's consider the next one, that is PVC cable. Everyone knows that the full form of PVC is polyvinyl chloride, and in this type of cables the construction is very easy, and it is nothing but a layer of PVC over the conductors. Good. And again over this insulating layers of many conductors there is again a coating or layer of PVC over it. Okay, let's consider some points for PVC cable. Is that PVC is harder than the rubber, first point. So it does not require any cotton taping or braiding over it for moisture and mechanical protection. So here we have seen that there is no any cotton taping or braiding over it to provide protection from moisture or any mechanical injury. Furthermore, students, PVC has better insulating properties, it has better flexibility, and it has no chemical effect on the conductors. Okay, so this advantage or these advantages of PVC gives it a better option rather than the previous one for low voltage application. That's why we usually see that in household or industrial applications also we are using PVC cables very frequently, and these are also available in 240 250 oblique 440 volt and 650 oblique 1100 volt grades. The next one is XLPE cable. Students, what is XLPE? Simply, XLPE is cross-linked polyethylene insulated conductor. Okay, cross-linked polyethylene insulated conductor. So, the cross-linking of polyethylene is done by chemical processes, and with the help of this process, we get a better material for providing better mechanical support, better weatherproofing condition, better moisture resistant, and furthermost, it would have better life other than previous insulating materials that we have used. Student, XLPE cables in construction are having aluminium conductors, and again a screen is over this aluminium conductor. Here we can see, students, is this screen is a conductor screen, or this is also a screen over the conductor that is used to make the electric field uniform. This screen is having basically two purposes here. The first one is to make the electric field around surrounding the core or conductor uniform, and the another purpose is that to prevent the insulation to react with the conductor. Okay, so this screen is having two purposes. Over this screen we are looking that there is insulation of XLPE, cross-linked polyethylene. Over this insulation there is a insulation screen again. This insulation screen prevents this particular part from being subjected to moisture, and further there is a metallic screen over this insulation screen to prevent any type of chemical effect on the cable, or to prevent any type of moisture or any type of gases, radiations to enter to the cable. And furthermore, student, there is a PVC sheath over this, and this is the presentation layer which can be made up in various colors. Students, the basic point or the main point of XLPE cable is that these can be used up to 132 kilovolts of voltage levels. Okay, so this is all about XLPE cable. Students, now we are discussing weatherproof cable. Weatherproof cable is very simple in construction, and the most important part of these type of cable is this insulation, which is a weatherproof insulation or weather resisting material that is compounded over the insulation of VIR or vulcanized Indian rubber. Students, in the construction, again The insulation of for the conductor is again VIR or PVC sometimes, and over it again a insulation of VIR is provided, and again over this insulation we are having a insulation of weatherproof or weather resisting material. Students, these cables are very useful for the outdoor applications where the cable is subjected to sun, heat or rain. That's why these are called weatherproof cables. And these are also available for 250 oblique 440 volt and 650 oblique 1100 volt plates. And here in the next point we are discussing multi-strand cables. Students, we all are aware that multi-strand cables would be meaning that there will be more than one or more than two or more than two strands in the conductors. Again students, if we talk about the number of strands in multi-strand cables, then what can it be? So let's consider if we are talking about a single layer of cable. Okay, so a single layer of cable will be having a minimum of 3 conductors, okay, so that a circular cross sectional area can be achieved. Clear? But if we have 2 layers of the strands, then let's see the first one and the second one. So what will be the number of strands in these 2 layers? Then it will be 3, 4 and 6 and 7. There will be 7 number of strands in 2 layers of conductors. And if we are having 3 layers of conductors, then the number of strands will be 19. For 4th layer it would be 37, 5th layer 61 and 6th layer for 91. So these number of strands are specifically used to provide a circular contour, and why to provide a circular contour? So the current is uniformly distributed over the surface area of the conductors. Students, the advantage of this type of cables is that these are flexible, okay, and also these will be durable. Another advantage again here is that surface area, due to using more number of strands, is increased, so the heat radiating capacity of these type of cables is more. Okay. Further, this type of cables performance is better because the tubular conductors are used especially in case of high frequency applications. So in case of high frequency applications where we have to transmit a signal at a higher frequencies, these type of cables are preferred. Okay students, this is all about the wires and cables. We have discussed the basic difference between wires and cables, and then we have discussed about the types of wires, and then we have also discussed about the types of cables. Now students, let's come to the second topic of this video, and that is earthing. Okay, before starting the topic or before defining earthing, let's talk about a situation, students. Here with the help of this diagram, let's see that here it is an equipment. This is an electrical equipment that is connected to the secondary of any transformer through phase or live wire and neutral wire. Okay, so if this is an equipment and the live wire is connected to this equipment and the current is having the return path through neutral wire. If we talk about the normal condition, students, if we talk about the normal condition, the current will be flowing through the devices or the components of the devices, and it will be returning to the circuit again with the help of neutral wire. But what happens if any fault occurs and the current is leaked, or there is a leakage of current towards the outer metallic body of the equipment, or on the those part of the equipment those are not current carrying part. So if there is current in the outer metallic body or non current carrying part of the equipment, then students, we will see that if any person is in contact with these parts which are initially supposed to carry no any current, if any person is in contact with these parts, then what will happen? This leakage of current or this fault current will be flowing through the body of this person, and if the person is standing on the ground and a path is provided with the help of human body to the ground, the current will tend to flow through this human body to the ground. And if the current is flowing through this human body, it will cause a severe damage to this person. But student, let's consider another case or another condition where what we have done is that we have connected a wire here between those non-current carrying part of the equipment and ground. Also, the resistance of this wire is kept as low as 1 ohm suppose, and this wire is solidly or directly grounded by connecting those outer part of the metallic body of the equipment or simply non-current carrying part of the equipment. So students, what will be there in this condition? Let's see. If the supply is coming to the device and if there is again any fault or leakage of current, the current will tend to flow through this outer metallic box or this non-current carrying part. So there will be a current in the non-current carrying part of the equipment. If a person is again in the contact of these parts, what will happen? Then what will happen that this current will be having two paths to flow to the earth. This current will be having here two paths for earth. The first path will be from human body to the earth, and the second path will be from this low resistance wire to the earth. And students, in the worst case, the resistance of human body is usually around 500 of ohm, and if we have connected a wire having a low resistance such as 1 ohm, so what is there? The current is having two paths. One is of suppose 500 ohm, it is through human body, and another path is through this wire that is having a resistance of 1 ohm. So as we all know that current always tends to flow through the low resistance path. So current will tends to flow through this wire to the ground instead of this part that is through human body. Okay students, so if the current will not go through this path, then the human being will not be subjected to any current flowing through it, and the total or the most amount of current will be flowing through this wire to the ground. So here we can say that the human being will be safe, as it was not in the case of first condition. So students, what is protecting this human being? Simply a wire, simply a low resistance wire. So students, this wire is nothing but the earth wire or ground wire. Here, and the process of connecting the non-current carrying or outer metallic part of an equipment to the ground with the help of a low resistance wire is known as earthing. So have we defined earthing? Yes. What is earthing then? Here, the process of connecting those non-current carrying parts or those metallic parts that are not supposed to carry any current to the ground with the help of a low resistance wire known as ground or earth wire. Students, it can also be defined as the process of transferring the immediate discharge of electric charges or current directly to the earth with the help of what? Low resistance wire known as electrical earthing wire. Clear? Also students, the earthing protects the human being and the system from damage also. Okay, if we talk about the importance of earthing, so what can be the importance of earthing? The first importance or the first important point about the earthing is that it protects the personnel from short circuit current first of all. Also, it provides the easiest path to flow of short circuit current even after the failure of insulation. If we have provided insulation to any equipment and suppose in any case insulation is failed, there is a failure of insulation, then again in that case also there will not be flow of any current to the person who is in contact with that equipment. And another importance is that students, it also can protect with the help of high voltage surges or even lightning discharge. Okay, I think lightning discharge we all know can be protected or can be prevented with the help of what? Earthing or grounding. So students, this was all about why do we need earthing, but still there are some points that needs to be considered, and the first point is shock. Okay, students, why we were talking about the condition where we were considering that there should not be any current through this human body. There should not be any current through this human body. The whole current should be diverted towards the ground with the help of earth wire. So why we do not want any current to the human body? Let's see. Students, let's see the effect of electric current or electric shock on human body. The first point is that whenever current of 1 milliampere is subjected to any human body, there will be slight tingling sensation, or sometimes it is not felt by the human beings. And if we talk about 5 milliampere, there is some disturbing or there will be some shock felt by the human being. Average person can let go, means any person, if he is subjected to this amount of current, this much amount of current, then he will be in condition to leave that particular part which he has touched or in which he has been in contact, so he can be safe from the shock. But student, if the current is in the range of 6 milliampere to 16 or 20 milliampere, suppose, then what happens, there is a painful shock causing some loss of muscle control, commonly termed as let go current range or freezing current. Students, this term is very important, let go current or freezing current. Okay? Let go current or freezing current. So what is let go current? Let's see. Let go current is the maximum value of electric current through the body of a person at which that person can release himself or herself from that particular contact. So let go current can be defined as the range or maximum value of electric current that a person can handle by releasing himself or releasing themselves with the contact that is providing that particular current. So this range is usually 10 to 20 ampere. Here we can also consider it as 5 milliampere to 16 or 20 milliampere. So overall, this amount of current is changes due to the condition of that particular person. If the person is having wet hands or he is having sweat in hands or foot, then the value of this current will be very low. So 6 milliampere will also be sufficient to cause a big damage to any person. So what is let go current? I think it's very clear. At the maximum value of current that a person can release himself from that particular contact. Further students, the ranges are also given. If we see that 17 milliampere to almost 100 milliampere range, then extreme pain is there, respiratory arrest is there, severe muscle contraction, and individual cannot let go, death is possible. So even 100 milliampere current is sufficient for the death of any person. And student, again, if the range is 100 to 2000 milliampere, you can see the effects of electric current, and over 2000 milliampere or over 2 ampere current, there is severe damages to the human body. Students, can we see that a current of 2 ampere is sufficient for cardiac arrest and severe burns or death of any person. So we cannot neglect any smaller amount of currents also for the safety purposes. Here we can see that the current range of 5 to 6 milliampere is sufficient for a person to lose their sensation so that he cannot let him release from that particular contact. Okay students, let's talk about the resistance of human body, which is considered as to be as high as hundreds of thousands of ohms. Okay, and in wet or broken skin it this particular resistance becomes very low, and it is around 1000 ohm, or even less than that. It can be about 500 ohms also in some condition. So if we have wet or broken screen or any wound on the screen, on the skin, the resistance is very low for the human body. So students, we have seen that the electric shock has very severe effects on the human body, and we have also seen that what is let go current, and what is the average the resistance of human body under various conditions. Let's start the type of electrical earthing, students. So on the basics of installation, the earthing is classified into following types. The first one is plate earthing, then second is pipe earthing, then another type is rod earthing, and then again is the strip earthing, the fourth type. Students, the first type is plate earthing. Okay, let's start with this type of earthing. So why do we need earthing? Let's first talk about that. Students, I think you must have seen this diagram where we are connecting the earth wire to the ground. Students, ground or earth surface is having soil, and soil is not always a better conductor of electricity. So to make a conducting path from this particular point or from the outer body of any equipment to the ground, we have to make some arrangements. We just cannot do that. We just connect this particular earth wire to the outer or outer surface or the soil of the ground. So that will not be sufficient. That will not be sufficient if we connect this ground wire to the soil directly. So we have to make some arrangements so that the connectivity of earth wire or conductivity of the earth wire is very much improved, and the current has very low resistance path to flow to the ground. Let's talk about the first type of earthing, that is plate earthing. And in plate earthing, students, here we can see that there is an earthing plate that is usually made up of copper, or sometimes it also galvanized iron, GI, and this plate is usually has the dimension of 60 cross 60 centimeters and having a thickness of 0.32 centimeters. Okay, this copper plate is buried inside the soil, and the depth is minimum 3 meters from the ground level. Okay, the depth is minimum 3 meters from the ground level, and above and below this level we have buried a copper plate having the dimension as shown in figure. And students, to provide a conducting path here to the copper plate, we have different layers of two materials. The first component or first material is charcoal. So we have a layer of charcoal here, then over it we have a layer of salt, then again we have the consecutive layers of charcoal and salt here. So this layer will be providing a conducting path for the current through this copper plate. Again student, this copper plate is connected to the earthing wire. We can see here the earthing wire, and further students, we are looking that this earthing wire is having an outlet outside the ground level where we can connect any equipment for the safety. Again students, here the second part of this type of earthing is there is a funnel given above the ground level so that we may pour water in this funnel, and this water will be making this layer, this conducting layer that we have provided with the help of charcoal and salt, very wet, and the moisture in this layer will be maintained so as to provide a better conducting path of earth from earth wire to the earthing copper plate. Students, here again we will be having a cement chamber, okay, and there will be a lid so that this whole combination and this whole system can be isolated at the soil level or at the ground level. So this is all about plate earthing students. The plate earthing is having an advantage that the copper plate is having a larger surface area, and this will provide a better conductivity for the shock or for the leakage current or the fault current to be flow through the ground. Further students, let's talk about pipe earthing. There is a slight difference between plate earthing and pipe earthing students. In place of plate we have a pipe of GI or copper sometimes here in this type of earthing, pipe earthing especially. So students, the copper plate is replaced by the GI pipe. We can see that the GI pipe is having a diameter of 38 mm usually, and this GI pipe is buried in a conducting medium that is formed by again the layer of charcoal and salt. Students, this GI pipe is having connection with the earthing wire, and again with the help of nut and bolt the connection to the earthing wire is fixed so that the outer equipment or the outer devices can be connected with the help of what? This GI pipe. Again we can see there that there is a funnel that is also provided to make this particular layer moisturous or to make this conducting layer again in the conducting mode. So we have to pour water through this funnel from time to time so as to make this layer conducting, especially in the summer condition. Again students, there will be a concrete structure and a lid or iron cover over it so that this whole structure is isolated. If student, we talk about the application of this type of earthing, then this type of earthing is very effective where the soil condition is very poor or soil condition is very non-conductive. Also students, the earthing pipes can take more or heavy leakage currents for the same electrode size as compared to plate earthing. So if we have a plate of same material as we have used here in the pipe earthing, and the cross sectional area of both the electrodes is same, then this type of earthing will be having to take heavy leakage currents for the same size of electrode as compared to plate earthing. Clear? So this is all about the pipe earthing. There are basically two differences here in the pipe and plate earthing. The first one is the pipe as compared to the plate in terms of electrodes, okay, and second one is the dimension or geometry over which we have buried this electrode. The pipe will be buried vertically in the ground, while in case of plate it would be buried horizontally to the ground, okay, and this earthing will be more effective as compared to plate earthing, as it can take very heavy leakage current for the same electrode size. Students, again let's talk about the third type of earthing here. It's rod earthing, and the difference between pipe earthing, as we have discussed here, and rod earthing is that here the electrode is not a pipe but it's a solid rod. Students, in this type of earthing, the rod is having the dia of 12.5 mm if we are using copper. The diameter will be 16 mm if we are using a rod of galvanized iron or steel, and the diameter will be 25 mm if we are using steel or galvanized iron type of rods. Again, student, we can see that the dia will be smaller for the copper. If we are using GI, the diameter will be increased as compared to copper, and if we are using steel or hollow section of the GI pipe, the diameter will be further more in that case. Again, student, the length below which it would be buried will not be less than 3 meters, as in case of the previous two types of earthing also. Clear? After that, student, if we talk about the application where it is used, the application is where the sandy type of character of the soil is there. Wherever the soil of the character is sandy, this type of earthing is very effective. And again, student, if we want to increase the embedded length of the electrode, we have to put another rod over it, and we will have to fix the two rods with the help of hammer, so that the overall effective length can be increased to achieve the proper conducting path. Students, this electrolytic route here which we are seeing is again the same type of conducting path as we have discussed earlier, having the layer of charcoal and salt. This type of earthing is very cheap, student, and the the construction or the installation of this type of earthing is also very cheap. Let's talk about the next type of earthing, and it's very interesting, student. This is strip earthing here, and what we see in this type of earthing is that there are various strips. There are many strips of GI or steel, and these strips are interconnected in such a way that they are forming a type of net here. And student, this structure or this net structure of the strips is then buried inside the soil. But why do we use this type of structure, or where do we use this type of structure? So students, these type of structures are basically used where there is rocky soil, okay, where there is rocky soil and there is a difficulty in excavation work for the plate earthing. As we have discussed that in case of plate earthing, the minimum distance below the surface, earth surface, was 3 meters where the plate is buried. But in this type of earthing, there is an advantage that the depth can be as low as 0.5 meters, as in case of 3 meters of plate or rod earthing. So students, this type of structure is basically used for the rocky soil where the length or where the depth is not that much as in case of plate earthing, and the depth in this case it can be as low as 0.5 meters. Students, here the dimension of cross-sectional area of the electrodes is given, that is not less than 25 mm into 1.6 mm of copper, or simply 25 mm into 4 mm of Gi. Here again student, the electrodes shall be as widely distributed as possible in single straight or circular trenches radiating from the points. The electrodes shall be as widely distributed. Why students? So because if the electrodes are widely distributed, then the effective area or surface area of the electrodes will be more, and if the effective area will be more, there will be less resistance for the less opposition for the fault current to flow through it. Students, here one point is also we are looking is the earth rod. Okay, these earth rod are buried inside the ground. These are buried inside the ground, and there is a layer of, again, that conducting layer which we have told here as electrolytic roots. That layer will also be here near these earth rods, and the layer will be comprising of charcoal and salt. So there will be a layer of conducting layer of charcoal and salt, and there are then earth rods, and above these earth rods there will be that net type of structures of strips. Okay, and again these strips are interconnected, and with the help of some points the connecting wires will be taken out, and these connecting wires will then be go for the interconnection of the equipment that needs to be protected. So this can be what? Earth wire. The earth wire will be connected with the help of interconnecting wires to the strips. Okay, so this is the most interesting type of earthing, that is strip earthing, which is basically used for the rocky soil where it is not possible to make that much of depth as we can in case of plate or pipe earthing. So students, this is all for this video, and in this video we have covered the types of wires and cables, and another topic that we have covered is need of earthing and types of earthing. There will be another video students in which we will be discussing about the batteries, characteristics of batteries, and some numericals that are important for the calculation of batteries capacity. Till then students, it's very important for all of you to see all the things that is being explained in this video, and if there is any doubt you may ask to your concerned teachers. Thank you students, thank you all.